Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and here is my second card using the Simon Says Stamp May 2017 card kit elements. I wanted to color one of these pre-printed panels that come in the kit. These ones are exclusive to the kit. They've released other collections. These are done by Susie, and I've shown other videos with a lot of these pre-printed panels that I really like. So, also in the kit are these Crayola fine line markers, and I've never used these before, but I was intrigued by them, so I was like, I'm curious how well the color moves. I wanted to try them on this, and I gotta say, I really like them. I had a feeling the color would move decently. I didn't expect it to move as well as it did, and for them to be, I guess you could say pigmented. I don't know, I just didn't need to apply as much of the marker as I thought, and then I'm just pulling it out with my water brush, and I'm just really impressed with these. So this was just a total experiment on my part. I just pulled them out of the box and then just started, scribbling on a little bit of color and pulling it out with my water brush. And since these are all cactus images and obviously technically a lot of green, I mixed the green that comes in these markers with the yellow, and then there's a blue, and then this kind of a turquoisey blue color. So I would just mix these together with the green just so you get different shades of green. And that's also the nice thing about cactus and succulents and that sort of thing, is they have so many different colors. Like really, you could add some purple to it, some pink if you wanted, all that. Like the varieties are endless, but I stuck to mostly kind of green shades, just mixing it up with the yellows and the blues, just so that everything's not all the exact same color. But like I said, super simple. I just do what I normally do with my, my zigs or my tombos or anything, is I just scribble on a little bit of the marker and then either pull it out. You can use a wet paintbrush, get it wet with some water, or like this, just a water brush, and the color just moved. I'm very impressed with these. I actually kind of want to play with them a whole lot more now and just experiment with them, because they're just fun and affordable. That's a big thing a lot of people, say to me, because, the zigs and the tombos and these full sets and everything, they are hefty price points. Well, I highly recommend these Crayola ones. They're great. Like, you can so play around with them and get a lot of use out of them and just experiment with some watercoloring and moving color around, and you're not investing a large chunk of change. So I just went along and I did all the cactus and succulents first, and then I went on and did the little flower pots, and same thing, did a little bit of color mixing, not much though, and then filled in the little flower areas. And then when it was all done and I made sure everything was dry, I just scribbled the gray marker just along the bottoms of all of these so that they're not just kind of floating, so they're grounded just a little bit. And then while I was doing that, I was like, I wonder if, I highlight the sentiment a little bit. So I just scribbled over the sentiment, wrote over it with the yellow, and then pulled it out with the water brush just to give it a little something. And then I set that aside, and while it was drying, I pulled out, actually I didn't pull it, I've had this scrap of black cardstock just sitting on my desk. It just comes in handy lately. And I'm using the Thankful Heart stamp set from Simon Says. And I pulled out the two sentiments I wanted to use and just treated each end of that cardstock with my anti-static powder tool. That way I could stamp one sentiment on one side, one on the other, and heat emboss them at the same time. So I heat embossed them with Hero Art's white embossing powder, and then got my heat tool, let it heat it up for a few seconds, and then melted all that embossing powder. And same thing, while I was doing that, I was like, I want to heat emboss a sentiment on the inside of the card as well. So I have this piece of, this is green leaf cardstock. This also comes in the kit. And I cut it in half lengthwise, and then I'm going to score it at 5.5 inches. So this will be a top folding A2 sized card, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I'm going to stamp the other part of the sentiment on the inside of the card here. So I use my anti-static powder tool again, and then I'm going to stamp the word thanks with that same Simon Says clear embossing ink, and then just heat emboss it with the white embossing powder. I'd originally thought about just stamping it in black, but that's why I ended up heat embossing both sentiments with the white embossing powder onto the black cardstock, and then it just saved me having to pull out another ink pad. So it's all about convenience. This was actually a really just quick and simple card to do with the pre-printed panel and then the markers and the coloring and all that kind of stuff. It honestly didn't take that long to put together. And once I did that, I'm going to trim down these two sentiments here. So I'm just using my paper trimmer to trim them into two little strips. And then I'm going to use my paper trimmer again to just trim off each end. You can use scissors for this, but even then I find more often than not, I always end up cutting it crooked. Even just something as small as this. So I just like using my paper trimmer to trim off those ends. And then once those ends were trimmed, I decided to pull out my scissors anyway, and then you just trim a notch in the center and then meet each corner with the end of that little notch you cut. And I've got little flag ends on each end of these sentiments. So really, really simple. And they're for the most part usually pretty even if you start in the center and then meet each corner to that center. So trimmed all of those down, and then I'm going to adhere the one for the inside of the card to underneath that embossed thanks sentiment. So I'm going to use my Tonic Nouveau glue for that. So it's a really, really thin line. I've been saying this, I feel like a broken record, but not everyone always watches all my videos. But with all liquid adhesive, less is more. Always. You do not want, one, you don't want it oozing out around, you know, whatever you're adhering, and plus you don't want to warp all your cardstock. So I ended up using the same adhesive to adhere the watercolor panel. I thought about popping it up with foam tape. That would give it, you know, some extra dimension. But it's also nice sometimes just to make a very flat, easy to mail card. So I did that, and then same thing with the sentiment, just decided to adhere it flat with that Nouveau glue, but same thing, you could pop it up with a little bit of foam tape. It would just give it that extra little something. And technically you could leave it here, but I wanted to add something. I was actually originally going to add pink baker's twine because I thought it would just look cute and pull up the pink from like the one little pot in the flower. But after I kind of adhered everything, I was like, you know, this is kind of looking like a more masculine card, which I never seem to have enough of. And that's something I know a lot of us struggle with. So it's like, how about I just use black baker's twine? So you could definitely leave the baker's twine off, but I just like the look of it. So I decided to add some. So made my knot, hold it with my reverse tweezers, and then tie my little bow, and then just fiddle a little bit with that. And then I kind of dithered over how long I wanted to leave the ends, and it's always usually my prerogative to keep them long. I just like the look of it. So just trimmed off a little bit off the ends of the bow here, and that finished off my card. You could definitely take it up a notch, you know, add some glitter, add some sequins, all that kind of stuff, you know, the foam tape, all that, but this was just quick and simple and easy and fun. So as always, I will have links below the video to my blog post. I'll have links to this card kit as well as to all the supplies that you can get separately. So check that out below if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, thumbs upping, and commenting on my videos. And I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye.